A man barricaded himself inside an Orange County home, leading to a SWAT response in an hours-long standoff today. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Deborah Choe.
And I'm Hannah McKenzie. This entire response took 13 hours, which of course was unsettling to those in the area. Fox 35's Stephanie Buffamonte joins us live from the sheriff's office tonight. And Stephanie, how did all of this kind of get started?
The sheriff's office tells me this all started with a 911 call about an aggravated assault, and this happened in a very quiet neighborhood of Orange County, which is why it was so jarring for residents in the area today.
My wife came out on the bike and she said something's going on out here.
Residents in the Live Oak Estates community were shocked to see the lines of marked and unmarked Orange County Sheriff's vehicles on Lake Mary Jane Lane Sunday. SWAT teams and armored trucks in the street.
Kind of surprised about the whole thing, and just, does make you, a little bit nervous. But with everybody out there, I don't think we have to worry too much about it.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office says deputies were called out to the neighborhood about an aggravated assault involving roommates. When deputies got there, a man in his 30s barricaded himself inside the home, sparking the more than 13-hour law enforcement presence in that neighborhood.
Just to have the SWAT team in the neighborhood scares me. That's scary.
Now, when we left the scene and then came here to the sheriff's office, we did see those SWAT vehicles and a lot of the sheriff's vehicles leaving. So we do believe that this SWAT situation is over. We're still working to learn how it ended, though. As soon as we learn more, we will bring it to you. Reporting live in Orange County, Stephanie Buffamonte, Fox 35 News.
All right, Stephanie, thank you. Well, we have some new video just into our newsroom tonight. Look at this. It captures a house fire in Merritt Island. Space Coast Daily sent this clip to us, and you can obviously see smoke there in the background. It was actually apparently pouring out of the roof and windows. Well, within the last hour, we have learned that thankfully no one was hurt, but we are still waiting for more details from officials.
Developing tonight, families are reeling following another mass shooting in our country. This one in the Tampa Bay area. A 14 and 22-year-old killed and several more injured. But as Fox 35's Justin Matthews explains, tips from the community led to an arrest.
Terror on 7th Avenue in Ybor City early Sunday morning. People running from gunfire. This video shows people laying on the ground after shots were fired. By the afternoon hours, it was this: costumes, shoes, hats, left on the road and on the sidewalks. Evidence markers line 7th Avenue. Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw has a serious message for everyone involved in the shooting.
If you're going to be out there with a gun, you're going to pay for it. You have not only the Tampa Police Department, but you have all of our stakeholders, federal, state, and local, that are out here that are going to hold all of those accountable for any senseless act of violence.
Chief Burkaw says it all started when a fight broke out between two people on 7th Avenue just before 3 Sunday morning. It escalated to involving more people, then shots rang out. The street was crowded as everyone celebrating Halloween was leaving the bars.
Officers were there. They heard it. Within seconds, they're running after people.
TPD says 22-year-old Tyrell Phillips fired shots. He's facing second-degree murder charges. 2 people were killed, including a 14-year-old and a 22-year-old. 15 others were shot, and 1 other had serious injuries.
Now we have lives that have been lost and other lives that have been permanently altered. We have got to say as a country that enough is enough. We can't just come back to the microphones day after day and give our sincere, heartfelt condolences to the victims of firearm violence.
The state attorney's office says it is working with law enforcement agencies to track down everyone who is responsible. Chief Burkaw says 2 handguns were used. One of them was stolen. Justin Matthews, Fox News.
1 driver is dead, another injured after an incident at Daytona International Speedway. It happened yesterday during a practice session. The track was being rented by the Sports Car Club of America Central Florida region. At this time, the names of those involved nor additional details have been released. We've reached out to the group's president for more information, but haven't yet heard back. The Speedway sent us a statement saying in part they're cooperating with this investigation.
Well, deputies swarm the parking lot outside of an Orlando hookah lounge responding to a shooting. We know 3 men were shot early this morning. Deputies hauled one of them off in handcuffs. Fox 35's Matt Trezza explains what we know tonight.
Orange County deputies swarmed this parking lot outside a hookah lounge where 3 men were shot this morning. Deputies handcuffed one man and sat him inside a patrol car after patting him down and searching his pockets. Michael Clark says he was inside the lounge when the shots rang out.
There was loud music too as well, so I didn't really personally know exactly how a gunshot should sound, but yeah, it was pretty loud, honestly.
Clark says there were about 60 or 70 other people in the lounge on Old Winter Garden Road when it all happened. He says he and others ran for cover.
I kind of just went behind the bar and I just kind of covered the girls just to make sure they were okay, and that was about it.
Deputies say the shooting happened around 5:30 this morning. They say 3 men were shot, all of them in their 20s and 30s. They were all taken to the hospital, one of them in critical condition.
They pretty much got the guy into an ambulance pretty quickly.
Crime scene investigators collected evidence around the area. Clark says deputies showed up within minutes and got everything under control.
It was kind of traumatizing, I'm not gonna lie. I've never seen that in my life, honestly.
Deputies say they're still in the early stages of this investigation. In Orlo Vista, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
Alrighty, turning now to get a live look over downtown Orlando this Sunday evening. Of course, we enjoyed a warm weekend here, but we've got kind of a cool down coming. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Ian Cassette joins us now with more.
Yeah, so Ian, is this our Florida fall that's coming our way?
It comes in waves here. We go back up and then we come back down again. And it does look like we will have our come down here as we look ahead. You can see the map. It tells a story. Look at the temperatures right now. Memphis, Dallas, 41 degrees. Houston, 61 degrees. They're seeing the cooler air moving in, and this front's going to sweep across the southeast and, yes, make it here into Florida and bring us some of that cooler fall-like weather by midweek. But for the next 2 days, including Halloween, that is not going to be the case. Mid-80s. It will be warm. We're going to have a very warm end to October. This has been the case this entire weekend. And going into Wednesday, that's when we'll notice that difference, that cooler air. For the next couple of mornings, it will be mild. We'll have temperatures in the upper 60s tomorrow morning. Some spots with some patchy morning fog. I think areas like Orlando definitely going to be okay. But as you go farther to the northwest away from I-4, that's where we'll see more of that patchy fog early tomorrow. Then as we go into later this week, that big cold front arrives with Halloween, and we're going to talk more about that and those changes and the tropics, which are active and a little busy here. I have some new information on what's going on in the tropics and what it means for us here coming up.
The cause of death for actor Matthew Perry is listed as deferred. That's according to the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner, meaning a specific cause cannot be determined. A toxicology report is pending. The Golden Globe and Emmy Award-winning actor died this weekend.
Yeah, and tonight, friends and family are mourning his loss. Fox 35's Christina Coleman is hearing from people gathering outside of his California home.
Fans have been showing up here to Matthew Perry's home to honor his legacy and pay tribute to him. They are devastated by his sudden loss. Again, he was only 54 years old. TMZ reports that his assistant found him unresponsive Saturday morning here at his home in the jacuzzi several hours after Perry finished a 2-hour match of pickleball. They also report that first responders did not find illegal drugs at the scene, but they did find numerous prescriptions, including antidepressants and drugs to help with anxiety and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Fans, again, heartbroken by the sudden loss of this TV icon.
So you're tearing up. So you were crying. I was. Even my husband, even though I never knew him, you don't know how much somebody that you admire can actually hate you so much.
There's also a statement on the official Friends Instagram account. It reads, "We are devastated to learn of Matthew Perry's passing. He was a true gift to us all. Our heart goes out to his family, loved ones, and all of his fans." The 54-year-old actor is most known for a sarcastic and fun-loving role as Chandler on Friends, which ran for 10 seasons. But he was also known for helping people struggling with addiction by sharing his own powerful story. He opened up about his decades-long struggle with alcohol and drug use, which resulted in a variety of medical issues for him, including a brief stint on life support, as Perry detailed in his 2022 memoir.
The best thing about me, bar none, is if somebody comes up to me and says, "I can't stop drinking, can you help me?" I can say yes and follow up and do it. When I die, I don't want friends to be the first thing that's mentioned. I want that to be the first thing that's mentioned.
Authorities have not determined Perry's cause of death, and they do not suspect foul play. Reporting in the Pacific Palisades, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Well, you can always read more about the life and legacy of actor Matthew Perry and see reactions to his passing all on our website, fox35orlando.com.
The Fox 35 News at 10 is just getting started. Coming up, the Space Coast is seeing another record-breaking year.
Yeah, and there are, of course, still more launches planned. How this schedule is impacting the local economy ahead.
And later, you may have to wait a few days to fill your prescriptions. Why some pharmacy employees are protesting this week.
And I'm Jessica Ely. Coming up at 10:45 on the Fox 35 Sports Zone. The Jaguars set a franchise record after beating the Steelers. They're 5-0 in the month of October, something they've never done before. Plus, Orlando City is kicking off the MLS playoffs tomorrow at home against Nashville. Those stories and more in the Fox 35 Sports Zone.
Well, in the tropics, we do have two tropical disturbances that we are monitoring. One with a 40% chance of development just east of Florida. We're going to talk about this and the one in the Caribbean and what this means for our forecast here coming up.
New at 10, the Space Coast broke a record last weekend, launching their 58th SpaceX mission.
Right, and Hannah, as you know, of course, we are entering into November, so we still have 2 months left. Well, I spoke with the Space Coast tourism director about how this year is shaping up.
You know, from a tourism perspective, we have had literally our best year we've ever had in terms of tourism development tax collections.
3, 2, 1.
Last weekend, the Space Coast broke records with 58 SpaceX launches. And that wasn't the only record broken.
We're finishing our September collections, and when that final number comes in, we believe it's going to be about 25.5 million, which is up about 10% from the prior year.
Over the next couple of years, Peter Kranis thinks the Space Coast could be on track for well over 100 launches in a year, possibly even hitting 70 launches this year. With all the draw to come visit the Space Coast also means adding new jobs and companies, which all helps the local economy.
We've got probably a dozen new hotels in our pipeline over the next couple of years that are already being slated, and there's projects being talked about that aren't even on the pipeline yet that are going to be great projects. So that generates jobs, of course. We're talking about potentially a new aquarium.
For now, seems like sky's the limit for the Space Coast. So the next launch from our Space Coast is tomorrow night at 7:20. And just like with all of our launches, you can catch it live on our air or online at fox35orlando.com. All right, turning now to get a check on our forecast tonight with Storm Team meteorologist Ian Cassette.
That's right. And Ian, what can we expect for tomorrow's launch?
Well, launch looks pretty good weather-wise. I don't think the weather will be a concern. There's a 95% chance of it being a go with the weather being favorable. We are going to look at those winds to be still slightly breezy. Not expected to be as breezy tomorrow, though, in the next couple of days. But that's going to change here in the forecast, so we'll talk about that. But let's first talk about what's going on in the tropics, where we do have two tropical waves that are being monitored by the National Hurricane Center. One that is east of the Bahamas, one in the Caribbean, and this one quite a large area here. And this is going to be the case with this, is it's going to be a larger area of low pressure. That will be possible. Slow development there. But we're going to focus first on this one that's east of Florida and the Bahamas. This is a low pressure area. It's been storm swirling about north of the Caribbean islands. It has a possible window here, but the chances have actually come down here over the course of the day. Now only a 40% chance of development, where it could become a depression over the next day or so. It's going to be moving into an environment that's not favorable. We have a front on the way, some winds increasing, and none of that is great. So in all likelihood, as our Fox model shows, it'll be a low pressure system moving and just kind of building up those winds that we will have that we've seen here recently as of late. And that low pressure system is going to be brought about by that front, kind of pulled to the northeast and then out of here, going out to sea. So not going to be a concern here, would not be likely to be tropical at that point, and it'll be gone. Now, the other area of low pressure, this is still down the road. This would be into next weekend, really, but slow development is possible over some very warm Caribbean waters. That is what we still have at this time of the year. So we're going to be watching for that. Models indicate that if it were to develop into something, it would likely continue westward, but we're not going to ignore anything in the Caribbean this time of the year. It's common to have these at this point, this late into the season, but we're going to continue to monitor that, so keep with us here at Fox 35. Outside right now, Port Canaveral, Launch Credit Union camera. It is a quiet and a mild night. We'll start out with those temperatures mild in the morning into the upper 60s along the coast. Some fog possible from DeLand, Leesburg, the Villages, Ocala with a little bit cooler temperatures. So give yourself maybe a little extra time there. I'm not expecting much in the way of fog farther to the south in Orlando and around I-4 to the southeast. The expressway should be fine. You can see it here with the forecast visibility in the morning, 7 a.m. That patchy fog from Ocala to Gainesville northward. Maybe some of it down in Claremont and Bushnell, but for the most part, the farther southeast you go, the less likely for the fog early on in the morning from about 7 to 9 a.m. Those temperatures will be starting out in the lower 60s, 67 degrees in Orlando to 63 degrees in the Villages, and then warming up as we go on the day. It's going to be another warm day tomorrow. Windermere, 84 degrees by 5 o'clock, partly cloudy skies. Humidity still not bad. We've had some lower humidity. That's one nice thing, even with the warmer weather, still not very humid. And at the beaches, temperatures will be warming into the low 80s in Daytona Beach with that breezy onshore wind, though a little bit less so of a rip current risk. It's dropped down to moderate. That's still something to pay mind to, but not as high of a risk as it's been. Forecast highs for tomorrow, 86 degrees, a warm one in Orlando to 87 degrees in the Villages to low 80s along our coast. This is definitely going to be feeling very warm compared to what would be by Wednesday. That front's going to move southeastward. It's still going to be mild for Halloween. Temperatures will only be in the 70s for the evening, even after the sun does set. But then look what happens to our temperatures after that. By the time we get to Wednesday, we're going to see those temperatures falling into the 60s and 70s for those highs. highs. So a change of seasons from summer to fall is what it'll feel like going from Monday to Wednesday. It'll also turn breezy. We're going to have some gusty winds, maybe even up to 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts along our coasts from Wednesday to Friday. Rain chances may be sneaking back into the picture. I'm going to have a little bit more about that coming up in the next half hour, but we do have an opportunity for rain by next weekend.
Well, still to come, one airline is making waves for their new boarding process. It's supposed to be faster, but it could end up impacting your carry-on.
Welcome back. A consumer alert tonight. You may have a tough time getting your prescriptions this week.
And that's because some CVS and Walgreens employees are planning a walkout. Employees are asking for better working conditions, guaranteed hours, and higher pay for technicians. The biggest issue is many pharmacy chains don't have enough staff to meet demand. The protests start tomorrow and are scheduled to continue through Wednesday. Well, United Airlines is starting a new boarding process with the goal of speeding things up. The plan is to let those sitting in the window seat board first, followed by middle seats and then aisle seat passengers. But that could lead to some problems, like less overhead bin space left for those who sit in the aisle. The new boarding process will go into effect by the end of this year. Next weekend is the American Heart Association's Heart Walk here in Orlando. The goal is to raise money and support research and medical breakthroughs. One Florida family knows the importance all too well after their son was born with a congenital heart defect. Fox 35's Kylie Jones has the story tonight.
We're so fortunate he's just a normal kid. You know, you'd never know, and people that meet him, you know, don't ever know unless we tell them.
Let's go! Nico Marquez is like most 8-year-old boys. rambunctious, loves playing sports.
Spending time with our family, play video games and stuff.
But just one day after coming into the world, Nico's parents found out he was born with a congenital heart defect, transposition of the great arteries.
We were getting ready to leave and they did the test on Nico and it showed that his oxygen levels were really low. And so that led to further testing, which actually discovered his condition.
Doctors did an infant pulse ox screening, which Nico's parents later learned became life-saving. At 6 days old, Nico had open heart surgery. 8 years later, Nico is running, jumping, and kicking soccer balls around. He's also able to dream about what he wants to be when he grows up.
Firefighter. Walk into buildings, fight fires and stuff.
He's also contemplating being a race car driver. Now a yearly tradition, the Marquez family walks in the American Heart Association's Heart Walk. It's become a huge part of their lives, raising money and awareness for other children and families who have stories like Nico's.
Just going through that as a family, we want to pay it forward.
To keep advancing screenings and procedures like the ones that saved Nico's life. Go! Kylie Jones, Fox 35 News.
Safe to say we are all Team Nico. There is still time to register for this year's walk. It takes place Saturday morning at 8 a.m. at the University of Central Florida Memory Mall. Well, coming up in our next half hour, the rally to gain new voters for one community.
Yeah, why some are saying it's important to stay woke. Plus, passengers may be avoiding all international travel in the near future due to the conflict in Israel. But there are steps you can take to make sure you have the safest vacation. We hear from experts ahead.
But first, we're saving you some money with the Fox 35 Pump Patrol. Gas is $3.13 a gallon at the Mobile on West Vine Street in Kissimmee. You can always find gas-saving tips on our website, fox35orlando.com.